looking back, it was building a skill set, learning SEO, learning how to create things that people want, what people are looking for, applying trends to your own sub niches, looking at competition, and looking at those high searched but low competition niches. All of those things I had to learn along the way. And, the more I listed, the more experience I got, the better I got at it.
Welcome to Built Online. I'm Cody McGuffie, and this podcast is all about one thing: building the business of your dreams. Selling art, teaching classes, starting a blog, launching a brand, whatever your passion is, we show you how to turn it into real income. I created EverBee to help anyone with a dream start and scale a business.
EverBee.
And we now serve over 800,000 creators all across the globe. On this show, we bring on real entrepreneurs who've done it. They share their secrets, they share their failures, the exact steps that you can take to get started. What if you can get one golden nugget out of today's episode, and it's the breakthrough that takes you from just dreaming to actually living a life on your terms? At EverBee, we believe that every human is a creator, and every creator should own a business. Angel, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm seriously so grateful to finally have you on the podcast, because we have so many sellers that follow you on TikTok and learn from you all the time. And some of the other people have actually never heard about you or had heard from you. So I really was really excited about just sharing your story with them, and so they can kind of get inspiration and tactical knowledge and kind of fun stuff like that. So would you mind just sharing with us, how did you come, what's your story?
Sure, absolutely. I would love to share it with you. So back in, I want to say it was in December 2019. So we had just had our daughter in 2018. So I was formerly a teacher, full-time kindergarten teacher. And
Crazy.
We were coming up to the holidays and we'd spent all this money and we were kind of stressed out because we were kind of, like a lot of couples, we were kind of living paycheck to paycheck, where we worked really hard to live within our means. It's we didn't buy this big fabulous house or drive new cars. We
Sure.
Tried to work with our budget, but because my husband worked in not for profit and then I was a teacher, we just didn't make a lot of money.
Sure.
And after the holidays, we were finding ourselves a little bit in debt and stressed. And I just decided, I'm going to add an income stream to our family. I want to look into, maybe selling an Etsy. So a lot of people, I thought, hey, I'll just go to Etsy and sell earrings. I wanted to sell earrings.
Okay.
So I made these cabochon earrings. I'm actually wearing them right now.
Nice.
And I thought, maybe there's a market for that. And I did some research and I found that I think 60% of Etsy sellers only make $100 a year. And I was like, oh no, that's terrible. So I kind of got really discouraged and thought, oh, this probably isn't really going to make that much money, but I want to give it a try anyways.
It's a cool hobby potential. You're just maybe I'll try it, but it might be a cool hobby where I make a couple $100 kind of thing. Okay.
Right, exactly. So I wasn't thinking of it too seriously initially. And then while I was researching on YouTube ways to make jewelry, I happened upon this idea of print on demand, and I was just sold. I was just all in.
Yep.
Because it was just so low investment as far as not having to house the inventory, not having to print the items and ship them. Because as working full time as a mom, I was just there's no way I would have time for this.
Sure.
And so it was just a really, I saw it as a really unique opportunity because it was just really kind of getting started.
Sure. Yeah. It's you don't have to because if you don't do print on demand, it's what are the options? Okay, well, I have to actually go source a supplier from wherever in the United States or out of China or anywhere else in the world, and then get the product, and then actually need to customize the product if I need to, and then actually get the order and then package the product and actually ship the product and print the label and do all that stuff. Right. That's kind of
exactly.
That's the alternative.
A lot of people complain and say, oh, print on demand, the profit margins are only, around 30%. But it's well, yeah, you can get more profit if you're technically, I guess, if you're handmade, but you're also not taking out the time expense. Yeah. So if you were taking out the time that you should be paying yourself to be packaging and shipping and doing that market research and, all those different things, you're getting closer to that 30% profit margin or lower.
Yep.
If you talk to a lot of handmade sellers, they're well, if I actually factored in the time that I spend, I don't get paid very much.
Absolutely. And it's really hard to scale because every time you actually have to go fulfill and make an order, and send it out, like you're actually taking time away from actually focusing on getting more traffic, creating more listings, creating more products, innovating. You're actually having to fulfill stuff. And yes, you can hire an employee when you get to that point, but then again, more costs, right? Like you actually have more overhead that way. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. There are a lot of handmade shops during fourth quarter that just close because they get so overwhelmed and because they're handmade.
Oh yeah, actually, I've talked to some people like that too. It's exactly, they just shut down, basically shut their doors.
Shut down. And with print on demand, you don't ever have to do that. You just, it's printed and shipped for you. Now you do have the customer service side. So, you are talking to customers. If there's ever an issue with a product, maybe there's a print error or quality error. You occasionally take care of those kinds of requests. But overall, it's very passive because, once you take the time to put the design up and list it on Etsy, then, and if it's a winning design and it sells over and over again, Printify or Printful, whichever fulfillment company you're using, they then print and ship it for you.
Okay, I have a question about that.
Time to scale.
I know we're going all of a sudden we went really, really deep into print on demand just now, which is awesome, by the way, because we want to like share like valuable, like tactical, real information, not just inspiration. So I actually get this question a lot on like EverBee's Facebook group, right? Where we have like a bunch of sellers in there. Some people are crushing it and they're having a bunch of success, and then some people are just getting started and they have questions. They don't really understand like print on demand, how to compete necessarily yet. And this question comes up fairly often, and it's, hey, I see I'm selling on print on demand shirts, for example, and I see all of my competitors, right? All these other shirt sellers selling products for like $10, right? How do I compete with that? And I see that question all the time. And there's some good answers in there sometimes, and I can answer it in my way too. But I'm curious, like first to get your opinion, like how would you answer something like that?
All right. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind with this model. First of all, a lot of those listings are simply clickbait listings. So it's a pricing strategy where they have an item in the listing that's $10. And then whenever you go into the listing and you like pretend to like add it to your cart kind of thing, you like select a size and the shipping method, you realize that they're charging $5 to $10 for shipping on top of that price. So always look at that, because often, not always, but oftentimes those types of listings are clickbait. And that it's a pricing strategy. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's a pricing strategy that they're using. So, you have to keep that in mind too. And then secondly, I actually just like last minute, I have a son who's turning 1 year old tomorrow, actually, my son Aiden. And I last minute was like, oh no, I never ordered like a cool onesie for him. And I could have made it myself, but I really wanted something that was handmade because I wanted it to have like glitter on it and stuff like that. And so I just went to this random Etsy shop and found it. And I paid $50 for the stupid onesie because I wanted it rush shipped. I wanted it special ordered. And like, I didn't like blink an eye on it because it was just like, because it was for a very, very special occasion. He's only going to turn one time, and it was personalized. And that happens all the time in Etsy. I can't tell you the number of people who come to my shop and they're like, I want this design, I want this shirt. I don't care how much it costs to expedite it. I don't, or I want it personalized. I don't mind paying extra to have it personalized. Things like that. So
those are so golden, by the way, both of those things, because I totally agree with the first one. Like, look at like the variance, right? When you see that $10, that $5 shirt somehow, and you're asking yourself, oh my gosh, like, how can they do that? I'm never going to be able to make it because it costs me, to print this shirt, print on demand is like $12 or $15. Or whatever it is. So how can I ever price it for like $10? Well, yeah, look, so click in there, like click into that one that you're looking at, see those actual sizes, see the real data in there. And you'll actually be able to see, okay, they are charging like $12 for the normal shirt. It's like a large, or $15 for the shirt, but then they're also charging the $5 or $6 for the shipping. So they're actually, if you look at the total revenue, add in the shipping plus the shirt, they're actually probably the same. They're probably
or close.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, okay, cool.
Or another strategy that they might use is putting like sweatshirts, hoodies, things like that in there as well, and tank tops. And so Etsy will always show the lowest price on one of those products.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally go in there and be like, you could create I saw this with masks a lot back, a
Mhm.
couple years ago, where people would like sell the elastic, right? Or something, or a nose
Yeah.
wire or something like that. And they would put it on top of their mask listing. And all of a sudden it's a 99-cent mask. You could tell it looks like it.
Right.
So you click into it and you're like, oh no, these things are $20 masks actually,
And it doesn't hurt to play around with different pricing
Totally.
strategies. Look at those successful shops. This is one of the best pieces of advice I have for any new seller out there, any seller who's wanting to scale and grow. Take the time to look at shops that have opened up in the last 1 to 3 years and really study those shops. Study to see what their pricing strategies are. See if you can apply those to yours. It doesn't, it only costs 20 cents to create a new Etsy listing, or you could even copy and duplicate an existing listing and then try a different pricing strategy just with that one listing and see, okay, did this make a difference? Was there a higher conversion rate? Did more people click on it?
Yep.
You have to keep in mind that on Etsy, you can sort by price. And so your listing might show up then if they sorted by, lowest price or something. And you're going to show up if you use that pricing strategy. So I've seen, also strategies where they just have the normal price and just free shipping built in, or a sale.
Mhm.
So I think it is important to offer something, either free shipping or a sale, or doing those types of pricing strategies. So doing something other than just
Sure.
having that flat price. It
totally.
doesn't hurt.
And I would consider those like tactics or strategies rather than just like, that's my the end all be all, right? Like consider those things, like experiment with them, right? They're
Right.
just like levers you can try to pull to try to like
Mhm.
move up, in the conversion rate or maybe the click-through rate, something like that.
Right.
Okay. So we went really deep there. Let's go back out to your story real quick.
Sure.
I forget where we left off. So
I
maybe,
think I was talking about 2019. We wanted
Okay.
to add a revenue stream to our family.
Yep.
I happened upon, and then in 2020, at the very beginning, it was like, first week in January, I happened upon this idea of print on demand, and I was just like all in. I just
Yep.
I opened up my shop. I figured out how to make a logo, a banner. I spent probably like 2 hours on my first listing, because I think I did it on my phone, which is like the worst place to try and create an
Fine.
Etsy
Yep.
listing, because I had no idea what I was doing. And and I made mistakes, and it was okay. My first 100 listings were bombs. I mean, I didn't get any views. I got very few views.
Yep.
I just thought, like, at first I was just like, I'm not good at this. Like, I almost threw my hands up and
Sure.
was like, I tried like digital downloads. I tried
Sure.
digital announcements, like anything, because I just was like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yep.
Because I just didn't with looking back, it was building a skill set, learning SEO, learning how to create things that people want, what people are looking for, applying trends to your own sub niches, looking at competition, and looking at those high searched but low competition niches. All of those things I had to learn along the way. And, the more I listed, the more experience I got, the better I got at it.
Yeah. You
So by
started
the time
compounding, like you
Yes.
started compounding all these skills, and they started like
Yes.
snowballing into something that's actually like, oh, I'm actually really good at this. And all
Right.
of a sudden you turn into like this, from this beginner in 2019 to all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I'm really good at this. And then it's like, oh no, I'm the expert at this actually.
Yes.
Right. And that's not that much time. If you actually 2019 to
No.
2023, I guess
Mhm.
nowadays, like that's 4
Mhm.
years. Like what thing could you also like make hundreds of thousands of dollars and
Mhm.
also become an expert at in 4 years? Like that's e-commerce that's growing so fast, and you actually could establish yourself as that. And everybody listening to this could do the same in their different way.
Absolutely. It's totally repeatable. Totally. And I echo, some of the people you've had on here before, where I say, like, I really don't believe in saturation, because there's so much potential in Etsy. There's so many sub niches to get into. There's so many emerging trends every week. There are trends that exist this week that didn't exist last week. They're always changing. There's so much room for opportunity. And so saturation is not something I'm at all concerned with personally.
I love that. I love that, especially coming from you, which is basically strictly print on demand, right? And
Mhm.
everyone's like thinks of print on demand, which is shirts, which is fine. And like you think of shirts, like you think competition, like, oh my gosh, look at these like millions of listings that I'm competing with. Well, let's talk about that for a second. How do you look at that, like competition? How does one stand out, and how does someone win in a competitive environment?
Sure. So, tools like EverBee can be really helpful. I'd like to do a couple different strategies.
Okay.
I really like going to high competition niches, searching keywords like shirts for women, for example. And
Okay.
then I use EverBee to sort by highest revenue for the last 30 days
Okay.
to really basically reverse engineer the search volume, what people are actually searching for
Mhm.
and what they like and what they're buying. And then I really study those top listings and see, okay, you know, what sub niches are they in? You know, what is it, because it's for a mom? Is it for dads? Is it, you know, and I look for patterns and products that are popular.
Okay.
I look for patterns and design styles. And then I take those ideas to new niches that I know are going to sell well. Another great idea is to look at how long a shop has been open. So Etsy, that's not Etsy, but EverBee also will let you like check to see like how long a shop has been open, like how many months. And I really pay attention to the ones that have been open like 24 months, 48 months. And if I notice that they have bestsellers and they've only been open for a little bit of time, I really like take a look at those shops, because that shows you like
whatever they're doing is working.
Yes, what they're doing is working. So like pay attention to those shops.
I love that, because like so often I see it all the time in Facebook groups, and that's part of actually what motivated me to like continue to add some of these features to EverBee and like our team to add these things, is because people were saying this narrative of like, oh, well, to actually crush it on Etsy, you actually need to be an old shop. You actually already need to be established. And I remember like talking to our team, we're just like, this is like the narrative right now, like on the internet. And like, we don't believe this is true. And like, let's prove it with data. And literally all you have to do is go for like shirts for mom, or let's just say shirts, something super broad, and actually just sort by like shop age. And you're going to see some of these like shops that are like 4 months old have like hundreds or thousands of sales. And it's proof right there. Like that is proof. And anyway, so continue. That's cool.
Yeah, I was just doing some research last night actually, because I'm working on a YouTube video about how like print on demand is like not dead. It's like, it's really just ramping up. A lot of people think like, oh, I missed the boat. You know, if you had to be selling or opened up in 2020 in order to really like make it on Etsy.
Yeah.
With print on demand. And it's just like so not true. Like all of the data is like indicating that it's just getting started. And I actually found the sticker shop that was print on demand. They opened in January and they already have like 5,000 sales.
That's insane.
They just opened in January. It was like, you know, 3 months ago. And it's just like proof that like, no, it's now is like, if you don't have an Etsy print on demand shop and you're like wanting to get started, even if you just want to do a digital shop, I think they kind of go hand in hand, either print on demand or digital. And you're like, you know, I just want to add some side income, you know, take a look at this business model, because there's so much opportunity. And the market is projected to grow. I want to say it for print on demand companies, it's like millions of dollars, like billions of dollars, actually.
It's wild.
It's like 25% in the next 8 years.
Yep.
7 years actually. So I mean, it's just exploding.
And you actually don't, as a seller, you don't need that many sales to actually like I don't know. I mean, it's not like you need to be this like multi-millionaire on print on demand. You can actually just like carve out like your little sliver, your
absolutely,
if that's what you want, right? And you basically just own that. And you actually don't need that many orders per day or per month to actually achieve your goals, depending on what your goals are. And this makes it, I love print on demand because it basically takes a lot of that heavy risk of like the $5,000 investment in business that it used to take, right? It doesn't take that anymore. It's like, no, we're talking about maybe a couple $100 max, right? And that's
absolutely,
if you like invest in some of those things.
Yeah, you can build a 6-figure business with just a few $100
easily. Can you inspire like a little bit here? Because I love hearing like numbers, and I don't think it's part of our mission. Obviously, EverBee is like a numbers driven business, right? To show transparently like what the potentials are. What do you see? Like, or I guess maybe you could share your numbers too, or revenue, or whatever you feel like sharing. What's the potential? Like, how much have you done in the past, any kind of time frame, 1 year, 5 years, the whole lifetime? Like,
so my first year on Etsy, I actually started in January. I pretty much essentially closed my shop down in the spring because of the pandemic and of shipping times. And I reopened up a new shop in July. And that shop I opened up in July. By the fourth quarter, I had at least, probably, if I had to guess, like $80,000 in revenue, and just from like July until December.
Crazy.
Because it just like, you know, I made sure to get in group niches where people were making multiple orders, you know, like the family Christmas shirt niches, things like that, bachelorette, you know, niches that encourage group orders.
Got it. I was about to elaborate like what you mean by that. So multiple orders in one order, or multiple items in one order. Gotcha. Absolutely. So the average order value, AOV, just for anybody here, is higher. And that's, you make more profit per order. And that's the idea. Okay,
Upselling.
continue.
And that's an important concept regardless of what you sell on Etsy. That's something that you could do if you sell handmade, if you sell digital. I see a lot of digital shops that do bundles.
Yep.
And that's how they upsell, so just finding that way to try and upsell to your customers is going to really take your profits to the next level.
I love that. Totally agree. And then also, like, just going off that real quick is you could actually, when you bundle and you create like a higher average order value, that's an e-commerce term, you can Google it. We talk about it a little bit here, but basically, like, you can actually be more aggressive. You could feel better about Etsy ads because you're not worried about like spending the $5 that it gets to get one order, because you know when you spend 5, you get 10. So
exactly,
that's the game, the e-commerce. You'll be playing on Etsy or any other platform you ever sell on. Like that is the game. Okay, so 80,000 in your first, like, or second, I guess, 6 months of being in, I guess.
And I was working full time with a family. So, I mean, I was just doing this in total pockets of my time. But I was really committed to it. I would work at my lunch break. I would work, if I was at a doctor's office and waiting in the waiting room, I was working on it. And so just in pockets of my time, I was constantly working on it. I would spend, how much ever time I could on Saturdays, whenever I was home. But I don't feel like I like overworked myself, because I don't feel like I don't remember missing anything, because I could do it and kind of make my own schedule. But I took it very seriously. I took it like more like a job than, a hobby. I've often heard the phrase, if you tackle something and approach something like a hobby, you're going to get hobby results. If you approach it like a business that you're committed, you're going to be more likely to get those business-like results.
Absolutely. I say it all the time. Actually, people have probably heard this on the podcast, is like, if you treat it like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby.
Absolutely.
And
some people just want it as a hobby. That's fine. You just want a little extra spending money. This is, still the route to go, but it does take some commitment and some skill to be competitive.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think anything that like you want to be something great at, like, you need to kind of focus on it. You need to be kind of obsessed with it. And if you're not obsessed with it yet, you kind of need to convince yourself to be obsessed with it. You actually need to want to do it like in the doctor's offices, right? In the waiting room, and like do it on your phone, like find different, like on your lunch breaks. Like if you don't do it that way, if you always find reasons to not do something or excuses, it's just not going to work long-term, probably. Now there's people that maybe do it. I would call BS. I don't know if I've ever really met anybody that's done anything pretty cool, like done it like super part-time. I feel like they're always pretty committed to it, 80,000.
So all said and done, I have made over 300,000 revenue since I started. And I've never gotten to do it full time. Like, I was finally able to quit my job in May, which was super exciting, because we had just last May, because we had just had my son, and that was really our big goal. I really wanted to be able to stay home with our kids and make being a sort of stay-at-home mom as my main job, I guess you could say.
Yep. It's a full-time job.
I loved being a teacher. It was really rewarding, but if anyone out there who is a teacher, it's just very consuming on your time. You take the work home with you. It's long hours. And I really wanted something that was more flexible for my family and for my children. And it's just like little things too. Like, I was able to this year take my daughter to preschool and pick her up, because she goes a half day. And it's like, I don't even know how we would have arranged that if I was still working 40 minutes away and commuting 40 minutes away and leaving at 6:30 in the morning and getting home at 6 p.m. at night. And so I'm just so grateful that I found this opportunity and was able to make a business out of it, a viable business. And it changed, my family's life.
Which is so special. And like, so many people are listening to this right now, and they're actually driving to work right now, or they're driving home from work and they're sitting in traffic, right? They are like dreaming about this, like maybe one day I'll have this, like this business where it's like offers me flexibility, offers me financial, like obviously abundance from it, maybe some financial freedom or time freedom from it. And like, you have achieved a lot of those things. And I know you have big goals and you're going to do way more things as you go, of course. But you've actually achieved a lot of what some people would call like success, right? And I think there's just something to be said for that, right? Because, and maybe share with us or share with them, I guess the audience here listening, is how many kids do you have? Like, tell us about okay, so you have 2 kids. One is 1, by the way, just turning 1.
Yes. We won tomorrow.
Yep. Amazing. Congrats. That's so cool. And then your girl is how old?
Yes. She's going to be 5 in June.
5 in June. Okay, cool. So your hands are full, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if you're a full-time teacher and you're also a mom to, you probably had 2 kids while you also were working. You're finishing up work
I just had my daughter. I was able to finally quit right as I
right
had my
before
son.
Aiden. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So then you become a full-time mom, which is, by the way, a full-time job. We know
Yes.
this. Like, my wife is,
Yes.
my wife is a full-time mom, and like her hands are full, and like, and then you're also doing this Etsy business, right?
Yes.
And people are like, man, how do you find the time to get creative? How do you find the time to like build this business? How would you answer that? Like, where do you find the time?
It is a struggle. It definitely is. I just, once again, because of the nature of the business, because so much of it is digital, I'm able to make my own schedule and do it in pockets of my time. And I definitely, it's important to batch. So there are
What does that
days
mean?
where I'll set
Yeah.
aside and like, okay, I'm just going to work, during their nap time today. I'm just going to work on designing, and really, and put my phone away, if I'm designing on my laptop, and, really trying to hide as many distractions as, I possibly can. So for me, like one of my biggest distractions is my phone. I think that's true of
Sure.
a lot of people. So I just try to make sure it's out of sight, and I will just sit down and like really design. I really enjoy researching, because whenever I research on Etsy, I just like, it lights me up because I get so many ideas like,
Mm,
oh, I could try, this is trending right now. I bet I could apply this trend to this niche, and I can like, I go on Etsy and I search and I look to see, what's the competition like? Is anyone else doing this style? And oh no, they're not. So now I'm going to tackle this style. And so, I just love learning new skills. I love learning new designs, how to design in different ways. And I think just being open to learning, because no matter where you are in life, there is no arriving. Okay.
sure.
So I don't care how successful you are, if you've made millions of dollars. I don't think there really is ever a point, time and place where you arrive. I
Sure.
think you just always have to be really willing to learn, and learn new skills. And I think that's kind of what makes anything that you do, any job that you have, exciting.
I think that's
Um,
why you'd be successful. Yeah, because like you're
yes.
continuing trying to evolve, right? You're evolving with the market, you're evolving like your skills, and it's compounding, and it's actually showing in actual real results over time, which is so crazy. Talk about SEO a little bit.
Sure,
'Cause
yeah.
I know that we brushed over that for a second. So many people right now they don't know what they're doing with SEO yet, right? They have this cool listing. Maybe they launched a listing. How do you do SEO? How do you actually, what should people be paying attention to?
So SEO, there's a lot of factors that go into SEO. But oftentimes what people are talking about when they say SEO, it's usually the title and the tags.
Sure.
There are other contributors, like Etsy will give your shop like a ranking score, based on how much they trust you as a shop. So as you get good reviews, are you responding to customers in a timely manner if they message you? Are you addressing issues if they arise? Have you filled out your shop banner, your thumbnails, things like little things like that,
Mhm.
that like it's important to try and do at the beginning, because it's going to make you look more like a more legitimate shop, and Etsy, will trust you more.
Yep.
But as far as like the keywords, that really is like really important. That's sort of like the keys to the kingdom, knowing what people are actually searching for and typing in the Etsy search bar, and understanding the competition too. So finding those high search but low competition niches are helpful. EverBee is amazing. I mean, I love your guys' tool, and I love that you guys are constantly adding new features. Like all of the time, I feel like every month it's like new feature, new feature. I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Um,
Thank you for sharing that.
yes.
And by the way, our team is literally amazing. Like, I will say, like, we are on it. Like our team is launching new features, and they're fast, and I don't even know how we do it, or they do it sometimes. So I give all credit to them, seriously. And then our community on top of that. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And so now I'm constantly like finding so many ideas just from that, where I'll just like use EverBee to find like, okay, what's the best sellers in this area? And it's the reason why it's important to look for bestsellers in a niche is because you're basically reverse engineering what people are searching for. So you know that those keywords are really hot. And oftentimes they are lower competition. They've integrated some low competition keywords either in their
Mhm.
title or in their tags, because that's how they get found.
Yep.
But it gives you a clue of what people are searching for, and that's really important, to make sure that you're using words that people are actually searching for on Etsy. And that's really hard to figure out in the beginning, because you're just like, well, maybe you make a mug that has flowers on it, and so you put flower mug,
Mhm.
and it's like, That's just the beginning of your SEO. That's not optimized.
Yep.
You have to really make sure you're optimizing your titles and your tags for Etsy and what people are searching for on Etsy.
Yep.
And to make sure that you're using keywords that people are actually searching for.
Absolutely. And so just so everybody knows, if you're brand new to SEO and what it is, SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's just a general term. But basically think about it like this, like think about Etsy as a search engine and people actually typing in the search bar for something specific that they're looking for. For example, mug for mom, right? Or mug for my mom or something like that. And that's what Angel's saying is basically to think of it like that. And so put yourself in the buyer's shoes when you're actually creating your listing. What would someone type in the search bar, and find my listing for? Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. And then really taking a look at competition too. So for example, if you just have a flower mug, you're going to be looking at maybe hundreds of thousands of competitors. If you just type in flower mug, Etsy will tell you how many listings there are with those keywords. But if you type in maybe retro boho flower mug for moms or for your best friend or best friend gift, then you're going to narrow it down to maybe there's 1,000 listings. And so now there's less competition for you.
So you're saying basically you go to the search bar in Etsy and you type in boho flower mug or something like that.
Right.
And then you type it in, you search it. And then on the top right, you're going to say like Etsy shows you how many listings are showing up in the search for that. Correct. So that's the competition, just so everybody understands. That's what she's talking about. So you could do that manually. You could do it just like this. EverBee's currently working on, and we already have this feature. It's kind of hidden right now. So depending on when you listen to this, you'll probably see it by now. But we're actually making that faster. So you actually see the competition and then we'll have like the score and stuff. So you can actually quickly evaluate, oh, this one's like has a high keyword score, meaning the search volume to competition ratio is really nice.
I love that.
So working on it. Yeah. So you'll see it soon.
All right. Yeah. I'll be looking for that. That will be a big game changer. What a huge time saver to know exactly like the competition. So that's really cool.
And we'll be able to show it actually when like you go into like Etsy's Etsy, like a listing, let's say it's crushing it, like $5,000 a month in revenue. And you're like, man, what tags are they using? And then we'll give you like the tag list, right? Of course, which is what we already do. But we'll actually have like the search volume and also the competition next to that, just in their tag table, which is really cool because you can actually quickly just like basically use the tags that are crushing it for them, or they would work well for you. Anyway, so the point is to make it faster. Okay, so there's like a lot of gold in there, and I'm sure we can go forever on SEO. But basically, the takeaway is to don't try to overthink titles and tags too much. Like reverse engineer what's already working in the market. If you see something that's working, like consider using that title, but also kind of target like lower competition, higher search volume type of keywords.
Right.
Correct?
Right. Yes. Now, some mistakes I see new sellers make too is they're like, oh, these are really low competition keywords. And I'm like, it's too low competition.
Nobody's searching for those things.
No one's searching for this. So competition is important, but so is search volume. So that's something to keep in mind too.
I love that.
Which is why I love how EverBee will, as soon as you search for something in the the Etsy search bar, it will pop up and tell you what the search volume is for those keywords, which can be really helpful.
Awesome. Amazing. So let's wrap up because I'm sure we could talk literally forever. But where can people find you?
Sure. I am Passive Income Angel. I just started a YouTube channel. I have about 8 videos up. I'm working on my 9th one right now. And then I also am on TikTok, just Passive Income Angel. And then I'm also on Instagram, same name.
Amazing. I just want to say thank you so much for literally all the value you add to the Etsy community and just e-commerce community just in general, right? Inspiring people, giving people free tutorials, free tips on Etsy and e-commerce and literally inspiring so many people. So I really appreciate the value that you add to EverBee, but also to everybody surrounding the e-com world. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Totally. And by the way, we'll link to all those, all Angel's handles, in the description or the show notes, depending on where you listen to this. So you'll make sure that you'll connect. Cool. Well, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Okay,
have a good day.
Bye.
See ya.